live on Channel 5, apparently. This is Lee, Peacher, and Dave, and we are the Cloudways Mavericks for today. If you're missing someone, yes, Jan is off today. They have just had a beautiful little baby, so they're spending some time together. So please join us in the comments and wish Jan and his partner a many congratulations, and it would be great to show them some love. Today, we are going to be talking about teaching online, and we have the very handsome Mr. Dave Foy, and you're going to get to meet him shortly. But before we do, if you are watching the replay, please can you let us know by popping replay in the comments. And if you are watching live, be sure to ask us some questions, because I want to make Dave Foy sweat. Do you?
Definitely.
So, before we kick off, you held it together very well there, Dave. Before we kick off, we're going to go around and do all the intros, and then Peacher has got a hard-hitting question for Dave. So, Dave, let's start with you. Let people know who you are and where they can find you.
Hey, hi Lee. Hi everybody. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are. Yeah, I'm Dave Foy, and I teach people online how to make WordPress and Elementor websites more profitably, more effectively. I've been teaching online now for over 3 years, over at Design Build Web, designbuildweb.co, and on my YouTube channel. And yeah, so I've got a couple of online courses, No Stress WordPress, No Fear Funnels, and I am just at the early stages of a whole new business venture, a whole new idea, teaching people how to do what I've done, which is teach tech-focused online courses and how to make them and how to sell them and how to find the audience and all that sort of stuff. And
sounds awesome.
I love it. I love it. I do.
That's awesome. I love it. My name is Lee. I am the host of the Agency Trailblazer podcast, and I am one of the Cloudways Mavericks and also a longtime friend to both Peacher and to Dave. So you're amongst friends and family, folks. And Peacher, over to you.
Hi, I am Peacher Neri, and I am a designer, and you will find me very often on Design for Geeks, which is my Facebook group where I talk about design all the time. I do UX and UI reviews, and I'm also Cloudways Maverick and a longtime friend of both of you. And in fact, how can I say, I think that Dave is quite an extraordinary character, I think, because he is things that he doesn't even understand he is. So Dave is a great designer, as in both in terms of how he actually designs pages, and also in the sense of planning, because design is planning, it's solving problems. And the way that Dave builds courses is extraordinary. I am lucky enough to have the No Fear Funnels course, which, by the way, can I say that, Dave? Am I allowed?
Go for it. Yay. Feel free.
So I think that Dave has... Sorry, I've just realized that my microphone is way behind me. It might be helpful if it's a bit closer. So Dave must have completely lost his mind, because No Fear Funnels is currently on sale at $97. No Fear Funnels, it's easily worth 10 times more or more, but it's a course on how to create funnels with Elementor, but it doesn't matter because I don't use Elementor, and I've used it as my sort of gym for sales pages, sales funnels, email copy. You can learn so much from it. It's absolutely extraordinary. And the tool that Dave used to design is really irrelevant to me. I don't use it, and yet I found huge value in it. But another way that I found huge value in your course is that I also create courses. I'm way behind you, but you were so nice, because when you sort of got wind of the fact that I was going to build courses, you helped me out, you talked to me, you taught me. But anyway, the way I've used No Fear Funnels as well is basically I copy Dave's structure. The way Dave create lessons, I make sure I always go back and go, okay, have I done everything? Yes, I've done it like that. So, and it's just amazing, because yes, I do think that Dave Foy rocks, because it just is so clear. You leave no stone unturned, and by the end of a lesson, because you used to be a teacher, didn't you? So you always, how is it? You say what you're going to teach, you teach it, and then you tell them what you just taught them. So that's what I try and follow. So when I heard that you were shifting your business, and actually your next course was going to be on how to create and sell online courses, I was very, 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 very happy to hear that. And I know that you've already started producing trainings, but I'm very excited about that. And I can't recommend your courses enough. And honestly, because people then are going to think, oh, well, you're all friends, that's why you say it. No, I kind of believe that that's why we're friends. It's because of the sort of, you know, the admiration and also Dave's ethos and everything else, but especially the clarity in which you convey information is incredible. And that's why I couldn't recommend it more.
Shall I throw into the mix that I have bought exactly 0 of any of Dave's courses ever, so that we have got a very good so if anyone was like, oh, you're all just friends, you know, I've not bought the courses, therefore I can't attest to them, but I can definitely be a character witness
in the interest of balance.
In the interest of balance. Welcome to
or you could have actually, even better, you could have said, yeah, I did buy his course and I think they're completely rubbish. So that's, you know, that would have balanced it out. So
no, I'm just too tight.
Yeah. So, but what I also love about your take is that the take is that anyone could teach. That's what you're saying. But I think that the first question really should be, why do you think that now is a great time? Why now? Why have you decided that now's the time to teach other people that may not think they've got anything to teach online? And actually, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we can come to the whole thing about what to teach and people's sense of imposter syndrome and the fact that they don't feel like experts. I mean, I can talk about that all day long. So hopefully we've got a long time for this webinar because we're going to be buckling up and settling in. But yeah, I mean, partly the reason I have decided to do this is because of people like you, Peter, actually. People like you who over the last 3 years have told me over and over and over and over and over again that you should really tell people about this. You should really talk to people about the journey you've been on, the tactics, the strategies that you use. How did you build the business? Why did you build the business? How do you actually plan a course? How do you find an audience? And it's one of those things that has been spinning around in my head for ages, because although I teach people how to build effective websites faster, more profitably, all that sort of stuff, and I absolutely love it, my real passion is teaching itself. And I've kind of got this bee in my bonnet over the last few months that will not let me go, that to try to inspire people to find the passion to teach other people. So one of the reasons really that I think right now is a good idea, well, partly because of the whole global situation. So we've recently, and we're still going through a situation where stuff has just thrown up in the air. There's been a huge change. And a lot of people have found themselves either stuck in a hole, they found themselves stuck without the business that they thought they had, without the surety of the business that they thought they had. And teaching online is just one possible way that you might pivot your business, you might direct your skills, you might think about leveraging the existing skills and expertise and time and all the stuff that you help people with all the time anyway in your business, you know, to actually leverage that into a business where you can use your skills and your expertise and your time far more efficiently. So that's one of the reasons. But I think also as well, we are in a position online at the moment where the thirst for knowledge and the thirst for making a difference in people's lives, you know, people's thirst for transformation, if we're going to get a bit deep, people's thirst for making a big change. I mean, I will get a bit deep just for a second, but you know, as human beings, that's what we all want, don't we? We're all trying to move towards a better life. We're all trying to move towards this picture of where we want to be. The resources online at the moment and people's desire to take training, to pay for training, and I can attest for that, people will pay very good money for online training, is at an all-time high. The market is huge. And we'll talk about the whole issue of people saying, well, there are already courses on, my topic. There are already loads of people teaching this thing for free. I've got an answer for everything. But I think those two things in particular are why now is the perfect time to be looking into teaching online. Definitely.
So I've got a follow-up question then. So I think you've kind of covered it, but I've got a lot of skills, I believe, that I could teach. However, why should I even bother? I mean, I've got a business. I can build websites for my clients. I can work with agencies. I give them consultancy. I do all of that sort of stuff, and I can make a good living out of it. So what would be the benefit of me taking the knowledge that I have right now and teaching it in some way versus just carrying on with the status quo doing what I do?
There's a lot of reasons. I mean, it depends on people's situations. It might be that let's imagine, just speaking to lots of people that currently have a client-based, service-based business, delivering projects for clients. I suppose in one sense, being able to create a course or create some training and actually to be able to sell it again and again and again and again and again without necessarily trading your time for money. I'm not going to pretend that this business is passive, because passive it ain't. But you're not
not
trying
passive,
to.
but it's a product. It's a product,
It's
versus a service. That's what it is.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's a product that you can create and you can sell it again and again and again and again. I mean, I made No Fear Funnels like way back in 2018, and I've sold it again and I've sold it again and I've opened it again and I've opened it again. I mean, in the last day or two, I don't know how many it's sold. Probably not. I don't know if I'm allowed to say, but like 180 so far today. I mean, it's all right. It's a crazy price, but still. So the ability to do that once and put in all that effort once and then to be able to sell it again, I think is incredible. The other thing as well is that, let's face it, some people thrive on client work. Some people probably thrive less on client work. I know when I built websites for clients for 16 years, 17 years. I think I was pro.
Sure, and
I am showing my age. It's not 16 years since I built my first website. I'll tell you that. we go back even further. But what was I saying? So
that was back when they did it in notepad and pen, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was exactly. Yeah.
Sorry, carry on.
I remember 1996 looking over my friend's shoulder while he was writing HTML in whatever notepad thing it was at the time, thinking this is wizardry. But so I personally just found myself getting more and more dissatisfied with the whole client delivering, project delivery thing. So again, that was good as well. I suppose the thing to say is that you have to, if you want to teach online and you want to build a really good business teaching online and doing the sort of stuff I'm talking about, I think you need to naturally have a love of helping people anyway. I think that is one of the prerequisites, really. If you're one of those kind of people who, I mean, like you are, Lee, definitely, you are, Peacher, who will just quite happily spend all day just helping people, people who are struggling, you'll just go out of your way to do that, then it is a really, really viable option. Yeah.
Well, the other thing I was thinking as well, sorry, Peacher, is for me, a lot of the teaching originally started not for me to build a course necessarily, but the teaching started for me to attract new clients to my service business. So I was offering teaching, which therefore also attracted them, but it also trained them to be better clients. And those were two surprising kind of returns on me showing up and teaching people. Sorry, carry on, Peter.
Yeah. Exactly. That I was going to say exactly that even I mean, anybody, because that's a really interesting angle that you gave, Dave, in at Lee's conference, Agency Transformation Live, just a few weeks ago, when you actually said, look, I don't care if you don't want to make it your business to teach online courses, but you spend a lot of time because you have to train clients somehow. So turn that into a course. And even if you don't sell that course, but you use it as a training for your clients, that's already a huge positioning tool for your clients to love you much better. And I think that's so important, because I think that's like, I am a bit like Lee, or a bit like you. I've always done it. When I had a job, I would then, the first thing that I would do is set up a training for the whole department so that they would know how to use Basecamp, and then stop breaking our, balls. And so that the design department would have more time to do the creative stuff rather than, but I was always doing that one way or another. But some people maybe don't think they're doing it, but they are doing it. So people who have agencies or even freelancers, they are doing it. So why, structure it so that it's repeatable, rather than finding yourself always writing the same email, always having the same conversation, always having the same video call, record it, and so you will be able to repeat it, and you will be hugely helpful. So that was kind of the next question, which we've sort of anticipated, but it's part of the objections, because people, I'm sure, come up with lots of objections, saying, well, I can't possibly do it, but
I don't have the confidence, for example, or I don't
have
or there's tons of courses, or I've got a big nose.
I've got a ridiculous shaped head, like me. It's not stopped me. It's not stopped me getting where I am today. One of the reasons I know about these objections is partly because people tell me this all the time. But I can't do what you do because of all these reasons. But actually, I had exactly the same objections myself. When I was first thinking about this, the number of problems that my brain, in its attempt to try and save me from doing something stupid, would just throw up in front of me. One of the big ones is people say, well, yeah, it's all right for you. You were a teacher, Dave. You've got all this training, you've got all this experience, but I'm not a teacher. And as Peach has just said, I actually think that most people, you're probably doing your job wrong if this isn't the case. Most people who run agencies or provide some sort of consultancy or coaching or whatever it is are already teaching. You're already teaching. You're already helping your clients become more successful by teaching them. And I mean, you might say, but I'm doing the job for them. How is that teaching them? But you are already. I mean, what is a teacher? A teacher to me is somebody who enjoys helping other people achieve the success that they want, right? I mean, I can't imagine anybody that provides consultancy of any kind who isn't doing that in some way already. Teachers have got empathy with somebody else's point of view, somebody else's situation, somebody else's business, the problems that they want to solve, the ideal sort of outcome that they want after the work has been carried out or the project has been carried out, and an element of problem solving. Actually, how do you then put together a service or a series of steps to get that client from the problem situation that they're in right now to the success that they want? And I think people who say I am not a teacher will be really surprised that actually you are. I think part of it actually is mindset. People, as I said to me, well, you trained to be a teacher, Dave. You spent however many years in the 90s, way back, teaching in classrooms. And my view on that is that, well, yes, probably, but I'm not sure that I actually implement a great deal of what I learned in teacher training in what I do. But what the difference is that I have the mindset that I'm a teacher. When I first started thinking about teaching online myself, a lot of my friends who knew me and had known me for a long time, actually, I remember the first guy that pointed out to me. He said, "But you're a teacher already," and it was a genuine shock. It's like, whoa, I am. You're right.
You'd forgotten.
I'd almost forgotten. I mean, it's true story. And so I think a lot of it is mindset as well. But there are, I mean, other objections. I mean, shall I just carry on?
I'm enjoying.
Yeah.
Just go for it.
Can I just say one thing about this one? Because I didn't know that you were a teacher, and I read it, that you used to be a teacher, and I read it in the bio actually in one of the sales pages, and I was like, I didn't know that. And then that made me think because I was like, well, I'm not a teacher. Oh, he's a teacher, I'm not. And then I was thinking, no, wait a minute, you've got a skating instructor qualification and a teaching English as a foreign language qualification. So I was like, oh, but I am a teacher. So, and I bet there's so many other people have that they've actually taught their children something, or they have a qualification they've forgotten about, or that they actually are teachers, but they had never seen themselves as such, I think.
Yeah, exactly. And I think a lot of it as well is stuff that I've realized now that I look back at the stuff that I do and the mistakes I've made, which there are plenty. I can look back and think of, there's so much of it can be templated. Now, whenever I create a lesson or a video, I follow a template. Whenever I create a course, I follow a template, and it's the sort of stuff that I can actually explain to people and break it down. It's not some kind of like magic innate thing that only some people can do.
Can you tell us more about this template? I'm really interested. I'm like, oh, what template? I need this template.
It segues into this question in 3, 2.
Boom.
There it is. Carry on, mate. I don't even need to ask the question. You're already doing it.
Yeah, we're already in there. Yeah, we're already there. So this is in terms of actually structuring the course or the training. Yeah. Well, the first thing to say about actually how do you decide what to teach and how do you structure and how do you put it together? It's quite a big topic, actually. The first thing is to actually, before any of this, before you're ever creating a course, is to get very, very, very clear on the specific audience that this is for and the specific problem that you're solving. And I keep saying the word specific for a reason, because you can end up, I've made the same mistake myself of trying to make the courses and the training too broad in an attempt to attract a big audience. So there is, is it worth me rolling back into how you actually get to that point in the first place, in terms of how I suggest you decide who to teach in the first place?
I think that would be very helpful.
I think that's essential, because I think it's the famous niche thing, isn't it? That everybody struggles with.
Everything else, I guess, becomes more obvious once you do that bit first, doesn't it?
It does. It does. I'll tell you what I'll do first. With so many things to tell you. Tell you what I'll do first. I'll tell you about how I actually structure an individual lesson.
Do that. That'd be easier.
We'll do that first,
and then we'll frantically taking notes, muting my
we'll roll
frantic
back.
Notes.
Yeah. The problem with most online training, if you go to any YouTube video, most courses as well, is that the trainer is basically telling you everything they know about that particular topic. Right. So they might have broken it down into steps. They might have broken it down into separate lessons, but effectively they are still just saying, here's everything I know about this. Boom. Here's everything I know about this. Boom. The problem with that is that you've got to understand that, human beings need to be engaged. They need to have a reason to understand why they're doing that thing. What's the big picture? Why are you telling me how to? It's all very well you telling me that, okay, we install this plugin and we click this thing here and we drag this thing over there. But what's the point? And I don't know about you, but the number of YouTube videos I've watched where somebody's enthusiastically telling you all about this particular thing, and you spend the whole time thinking, but so what? What is this for? What's it about? So the first thing is to be really, really, this goes back to the whole structure of planning the course in the first place, but with an individual lesson, the first thing is to tell people up front in one line what it is they're going to be able to do after that lesson, after this particular lesson is done, whether it's 5 minutes or 10 minutes or whatever. What is it they're going to be able to achieve and why? Yeah, you're going to be able to do this, this, and this, and here's the reason why. Here's the big benefit. So people forget. They forget to tell people what the point of the lesson is or what the benefit of it is in the first place. That's job number one. Next thing is to tell people why it's important right now. So what is the upshot of you not doing this? Okay. I learned this the hard way when I first started making No Stress WordPress, which is my other main course. When I started first making the first version of it, actually, I just dived in excitedly into telling people all about the, teaching people about the lesson itself. And it was a guy who was one of my students who had a degree in instructional design. I mean, he had it like early 90s, back in the days of CD-ROMs. But he contacted me. He said, Dave, I know you're a trained teacher, but do you mind if I give you a bit of advice? It's like, go for it, mate. And that was the big thing that he told me. You've got to tell people at the beginning, what is the big problem if you don't learn this? So if you don't learn this thing, then you're still going to be struggling with this and that. It depends on what the topic is. So the next thing is to tell people what's the big deal, what's going to be the big problem if you don't do this thing. Next thing is to tell people what you're actually going to teach, right? So tell people, in this lesson we're going to cover these points, and I suggest that you only cover maybe 3 to 5 points in any one lesson, because otherwise it's far too much. Once you've taught people the thing, when you actually told them what you're going to be teaching them, obviously then jump in and actually teach them, cover each of those points in turn, constantly refer back to the plan so that, people know where they are. Once you've done that, pretty much everybody will have objections, right? So at that point, there will be people who will be saying, well, yeah, it's all right. It's all right you saying that. I don't know, whatever it is that you've just told me to do, but there's a reason I can't do that. I'm some sort of special case. It's just the opportunity to try to meet those objections, or that particular objection head on, and say, you might think that the thing that I've asked you to do is a lot of work. And yes, it is in the first time you do it, but once you've done it once, you never have to do it again. So, stop complaining and get on with it, kind of thing. And then usually then give people some action. So I always try these days, especially, to give people something to do, because it's so easy to fall into the trap of just dumping the knowledge without it actually being something that people need to do. It might be to fill in a worksheet. It might be to go and do something on a website. It might be to do some research, but go and actually do this particular thing. And then at the end, just recap. So quick recap of what we've covered. Boom, 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 boom. So that structure, I mean, I just have a template now, and I just fill that in and follow it all along the way. And it's funny, when I did the high ticket sales funnels course with Troy Dean last year, and that was pretty much the lesson template that we would have used with small children back in the day, back in schools. And when we were planning out high ticket sales funnels, like Troy was talking through his lesson plan, and it's like, yeah, but pretty much, we follow the same thing. So that's pretty much I follow.
For me then, mate, I love to be able to reverse brief or like tweet it, so that I can, so that I believe I've understood. So I'm going to do this. First of all, you've said be really clear about what it is they're going to be able to do after the lesson, after that particular module, and the reason why.
That particular lesson, yeah.
So not the whole course. It's like, we're now on module 1, and this is what you're going to be able to do after module 1, and the reason why.
Yes.
Where they're going to explain what the problem is or will be if they don't learn it. So if I don't learn this now, I'm going to have a problem later on down the line. So it's important that I don't skip this.
So set up, pay attention. Yeah.
Come on, get your ass in gear.
Right.
Then I'm going to tell them what we're actually going to teach them. I'm going to do the teaching, and then once I've taught them, I'm going to instantly come in there with those common objections to help, mitigate some of the. And then finally, I'm going to give them an activity, get them to actually do something, and I'm going to wrap up essentially with a recap. And it's kind of I'm going to tell you what I'm going to teach. I'm going to teach you it, and then I'm going to tell you what I taught you.
Pretty much.
Yeah, that sort of flow.
Right.
Pretty much.
So now I'm feeling like I'm going to go over all of my UX course, which is near completion, and I'm going to want to completely destroy it. And
don't do that.
Again.
Don't do that.
Oh.
Just cut
Don't
yourself in
do
at the
that.
beginning saying, I'm going to teach you this. And then
No,
at the
what-
end say, I taught you this.
I did do that because even though when I started it, Dave hadn't started this, so I didn't get the benefit of all this. But I did have the No Fear Funnels course, and I loved the way it was taught there. So I deconstructed it. I went, like I said at the beginning, I went into it and went, okay, right. So how is he doing it? And I did this. The one thing that I'm sort of, I will go back and cast a critical eye is whether I always give an activity. And I know that I always give context because I give a lot of I use examples a lot, which I think really matters because then people see the real life application.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
But what you say, because I have been, like I said, I have been frantically taking notes. Maybe I don't tell so much what the big problem is if they don't learn it right now. I may find that lacking. And then in the end, give them something to do. But that's something that you can tack on quite easily, I feel.
Yeah, and some of those aspects as well, you know, I mean, it sounds there like it's a big deal, but it can be literally one line.
Yeah,
You know,
sure.
It doesn't have to be like a huge 5-minute section of the lesson. It just be something you just mention and that's it, and then move on.
Yeah.
Yeah. What were we talking about? We were talking about how you actually get to the point where you decide what to teach and how to structure it actually. So maybe and I was also talking about people's objections as well. We've gone off on several tangents like.
Oh God, yeah, because there is so much. But actually, given that you've made me now think about the mistakes that I am sure I have made. What were yours? I mean, you kind of said a little bit already. So what were yours? And yeah.
Oh, the big mistakes.
Yeah, the big mistakes, so that we don't make them. I mean, mind you, I've already made them, but never mind.
Or the big
no. Yeah, the mistakes. Right. I mean, I made loads of them. One of the. I'll tell you actually. So I'll be quite nice to myself and say some of the things that I did right. One of the things I did right from the very, very beginning was paying attention to what my audience or what people were saying that they were struggling with, what they were saying in groups and in my surveys that I ran with them. And when I spoke to them directly, I got on calls. And when I asked them questions in emails to get back to me and tell me, what do you struggle with and what do you most need help with? And also building an email list in the first place, you know, putting content out there and actually building an email list to start off with, which is absolutely vital. So those are the things that I did right. Definitely. The the mistakes I made, if I look back, number one was not selling something soon enough. I think when you and I met, Lee, actually, I think I was struggling like mad with this whole idea of the fact that I'd started making YouTube videos. I started building an email list, giving away free stuff in exchange for an email. And I had this rather mistaken idea that I needed to wait and learn more and more about the audience and build a relationship and build trust before I offered something for sale. And I now realize that I should have sold something very quickly. As soon as I had an idea of something small, like a small course. I mean, we're talking like $67, $97, I don't know, $197, but something I should have sold something much sooner. The reason I didn't,
my mistake too. Yeah.
Well, the reason I didn't was fear.
Fear.
Do you remember as well when you came to me, Dave? When you came to me and I gave you that really wise line that made you do all of this? Because I don't remember it either, to be honest. No, you're like, oh, no.
I remember you, Dave, telling me that Dave Toomey from one of the many things that he does is the Big Beaver Builder Group, for those who don't know him. You told me that he told you, get your ass in gear. What are you doing? And it's kind of what you told me. Not that it helped, but So you told me that you know that a friend told you you've got to do something now.
Yeah. That was all part of the same time, really. When I met Dave, I met Lee, and I was basically told in no uncertain terms to stop mucking about, kick to my butt, and to get on with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't wait too long. One of the reasons is because, well, the sooner you start making some paid content, the sooner you get over being crap, right? You get over the fact that your first stuff is probably going to suck. It's probably not going to be the absolute best thing you ever produce. So just get it over with. The other thing is also getting over, you don't want to get too far into the friend zone, right, with your email list. So I was starting to get to the point where one of my fears was, hell, I've now had some people on this list for like 10 months, nearly a year, and I'm now going to start suddenly asking them for money. So there's a real sense of this is going to seem really, really weird. It's going to seem odd. So that was the first thing. Next thing was making courses that are too long.
You make me cry because that is my current mistake. Never mind, please.
Well, we all do it. Well, I've done it twice. I've done it 3 times, Peacher, so don't worry about it at all. But I know, again, when I first started, so many people were just asking me to build a basic course on Elementor. They were just asking me, just make us like a quick step-by-step about this new page builder. But I waited, and when I eventually made it, I felt like I had to make this course that was the be-all and end-all on the topic of building websites with WordPress and Elementor. And it's just, I think for your own sanity, for the fact of just actually having a project that you can turn over in just a few months, maybe 2 or 3 months, and then move on to something else. And I think also most people just don't have the time or the patience or the energy to sit through an enormous course. They're actually buying the course. I used to think that the longer the course was and the more stuff that was in it, the more you could charge. And that's just simply not true. And in fact, people value shorter.
Yeah.
I think that you pay for access. I think that what you charge for is when you give your presence. That's what I think is worth quite a bit. And because there's a lot of one of the objections that actually maybe we didn't tackle, but one that I hear a lot, and because I give it to myself, is there are so many people teaching what I'm teaching, but you make the difference if you give your access to your person, your availability. And I think that's what you charge for, much more than the length of the course.
Oh yeah, the value certainly with training. It's partly because people are paying for the shortcut. So that's the thing with the training. Yeah. They want the fastest result possible, not the longest route around everything on that topic. But also, they say, don't they? The people come for the content but stay for the community. So I think just providing the support and a Facebook group and all that extra help and relationships and networking and all that kind of thing is where the real value of your offer takes you from being able to charge maybe a couple of $100 to charging, $500, even $1,000, $2,000 for that value, definitely.
Yeah.
And the other mistake as well, I suppose I made, and I still make this mistake all the time, is just worrying about perfection. And that's a fear thing as well.
I know.
It's absolutely worrying about things having to be perfect, because just a fear of what people are going to say, how people are going to judge you. And I'm getting a lot better these days at just, plan it out. Yes. Make it absolutely clear and concise, and put the time, I think, into the planning and the structure of the thing. How are you going to get your ideal student from point A to point Z, or wherever they want to be? But I think in terms of the actual delivery, in terms of putting the stuff together, in terms of your sales pages, in terms of everything else, you've got to realize that usually about 80% is usually good enough. 80-90% is usually good enough.
Yeah, it's incredible when you talk, Dave, how everything resonates so painfully for me right now.
Yeah, it was because I've done it.
I know.
It feels like therapy. I'm just like watching in on you both.
Picture's going to break down.
I've got this UX course that is, it's just a catalogue of everything that Dave's been saying. That's exactly what
No, it's not.
too
Don't be harsh
big,
on yourself.
too big, too much, desire for perfection, everything. But it's as you say, you learn. And I think that you reshot completely No Stress WordPress, didn't you, at one point?
I did. Yeah, this is actually
That's what
one
I'm
of
going
the.
to do. So
This is one of the other reasons to keep your courses shorter, especially if they are tech focused, right? Because No Stress WordPress is very tech focused. It's all tech. It's all WordPress and Elementor. And the problem is that tech changes fast. I mean, Elementor is about to come up with about to drop a whole brand new version 3 soon, sometime. I mean, that could render my entire course, which I've already made. So I made version 1, and then Elementor released a whole new version, which made my course obsolete overnight, unsellable. So thanks, Elementor, for that.
you should speak to Ben.
Yeah, I'll have a word. Just don't. You don't want to be
really?
any new features. I'm sure they'll be fine. They'll be fine. So then I remade the whole thing again when I finally summoned up the energy. Remade the whole thing again, but I made it shorter and more concise. But they're about to release a whole new version again, which could make that obsolete again. So actually, that is another reason to make your courses short, is the fact that you might be remaking the whole thing. So don't make an enormous course. Make shorter ones.
That's please, everybody who's thinking about creating a course, take it from. Actually, someone else had given me exactly that same advice at the beginning. Davinda, who has Beaver Builder courses. He said, "Don't make a big course." Did I listen? No, I didn't. Anyway, so can I just say that gives me the cue for it to make a point. I didn't take your No Stress WordPress course also because also I don't use Elementor, but I did take No Fear Funnels, and there's Colleen in my group, Colleen Grazza, may ask the question about the No Fear Funnels course. She was saying, is it really Elementor based? Does it and I just want to reiterate again, I said it at the beginning, but Colleen, just to answer your question, no, it doesn't matter. I don't use Elementor. It doesn't matter at all. It's just that Dave shows how to build the pages that you use as the template, as the sort of case study that you take from the beginning to end. He builds them with Elementor. I'm not interested in that because I know how to build pages anyway. So that's not what I get from that course. What I got from that course is how to build a funnel, very, very clear how to build a sales sequence. It's the email, is finding the niche, it's all that kind of stuff that is very much marketing, but done in a way that people who don't really have an attitude, the inclination to be marketers, it really gives you the confidence, and you can replicate.
This is what I say about No Fear. I think one of the taglines is it's sales funnels for non-marketers. So it's people like me who actually don't see themselves as marketers, but it's how to build these lead and sales generating machines for yourself or your clients. But I'm asked quite often, is it specifically Elementor? And I think there's probably about 15% of the course I use Elementor at all, actually, maybe 10%. The rest of it is the planning, the sales psychology, the copywriting,
absolutely,
the design stuff, the analytics, the traffic generation. And so people often ask, can I use Beaver Builder? Can I use this other tool? And absolutely. One thing I would say actually just on that topic as well is that because No Fear Funnels is more strategic, evergreen, universal top, concepts that probably will never go out of date. Some of it is tech that is slowly going out of date, but a lot of it is completely evergreen and universal. That's one of the benefits of that course, in that I can sell it 2 years on and it's still fine, most of it, with a few updates. And that is another piece of advice I would give, is that if you're going to create a course, try to make it strategic, even if it's about some aspect of tech. Try and make some sort of strategic, bigger picture, rather than I'm just going to just show you how to use this plugin or this particular app or this particular tool. Because ultimately that's fine, but most people can get that kind of thing from YouTube. They can kind of get that stuff for free, probably in bits and bobs, here and there. But it's the real strategic, what's the big picture of how you put this together to save time, make more money, attract better clients. That's the real value of a course. So the more you can do that, I think the more value the course itself has, the more you can sell it for. And also it's not going to be out of date quite so fast.
So that's the one thing that I know my course has, and it's like, phew, I've got that one covered at least.
Yes, you certainly have.
It is definitely evergreen. Yeah.
You certainly have. But yeah, I mean, just in terms of, those, just going really quickly back to the objections, there are those things where people say, but there's loads of free content out there. Why would anybody, I can go onto YouTube and find umpteen videos on whatever tech topic you want. But, they're fragmented, they're out of date, and it's what people are paying for with a course is the step-by-step. It's the actual, how do you put this stuff together into a path? So
I guess as well as the outcome as well, their outcome, like your course is outcome driven. If I was to go and don't know what to Google to essentially put all of those different videos from disparate people together to get that outcome, nor do I necessarily know what outcome I want. Therefore, for me to go for a course, and I am now the proud owner of No Fear Funnels, whilst you're waffling on, I was like, all right, I'll buy it for Pete's sake. So I bought it. So I'm now one of your customers, mate.
Mission accomplished.
Mission accomplished.
It's all been worthwhile.
All been worthwhile.
Yeah, definitely.
I've forgotten my point now.
the outcome.
Very good point. That was it. Outcome. But I was reading. I was listening. I was reading it, and for me, I have been tempted very often to go and find some of this information online because there's podcasts on funnels, for Pete's sake. But like you said, it's the fact that it's this whole package of you are going to learn how to put together a funnel that converts well. And I'm a non-marketer. I don't consider myself a marketer. I'm just a content creator and a teacher, which is essentially marketing, I guess. But for me, it's an outcome. I can see that there's an outcome from this, and I want that outcome.
This is one of the on the No Stress WordPress sales page. It's not live at the moment, but one of the I'm always looking at opportunities to copy phrases that my audience or people who I might want to be students copy what they actually say. And I remember one of the phrases that came through in an email, which was I just thought I'm having that, was somebody said, there are all these ungoogleable questions. And that moment was like,
so true.
That's what courses are for. That's the whole point, is that if all that stuff that you can Google, how to do this, how to do that, how to do the other, is fine. But you can't Google the burning frustration that the audience has with a particular topic, wanting a particular outcome. So that's why people will be prepared to pay really good money for courses, even though there's a lot of YouTube content out there.
I have no patience for that. It never gives me what I want. I've always been, in fact, I am definitely an avid course consumer. And back to one of the things that we said at the very beginning, back to the why now. Actually, I started consuming online courses as early as they started existing as courses rather than free tutorials. And I think that Udemy started coming out around 2013. And for a while, Udemy, for those who don't know, is this big courses platform, which for a long time was the only really way that you could put your courses online. And like any platform, it's not really, the creator gets penalized, whatever. But I have still a huge collections of Udemy courses. And what is extraordinary is that at the time I was already thinking in 2013, I was thinking I really want to teach online, but I wasn't sure about the audience. So the thing that we said about finding the audience, which No Fear Funnels helps you to do that, because it took me 5 years to realize who my audience was. So get started with that when you can. But back to the why now, 7 years after 2013, when I was thinking, surely it's going to die down. Surely it's here to stay. Online learning is the way to be, and it will never get too crowded because your contribution will always be unique. Whatever you have to give, nobody else will have to give your specific point of view, and people will come for you because they like the way you say it, even though maybe someone else's course is a bit better, but they prefer you. And as is in the same way, some people will not like you, but that's fine. That's life. So that sort of ties in quite nicely with the next question that I wanted to ask you, which is, where do people start? Because that was a huge issue for me. Where the hell do I start? I know that I know a lot, because also I keep studying, I keep absorbing all this knowledge, and I know that I have a point of view, but where do I start? And it took me a good at least 5 years before I realized where. So
yeah, definitely. I mean, there's an assumption, I suppose, that you at least have got an idea of how you help people in your work or in your life in some way. So, for instance, when I started, just looking for an idea of what I could teach actually at the time, and I realized that I'd spent years as a developer working with graphic designers who were desperate to get their designs on the web as websites, but needed help because they just had struggles with the tech, struggle with understanding about website structure, all that kind of thing. So that to me was my first idea, was actually helping graphic designers build websites, you know, because they think visually, they've got this visual sort of vision. So that was the first thing, was just think, how do I solve problems? It can be something really small, you know, it doesn't really matter. What do you get asked all the time? What questions are you asked all the time? What kind of things do you get excited about? What do people currently pay you for that you could teach more people and wrap up into a course? So try and get specific about that. However, all the planning and thinking in the world will not help you until you actually get yourself out there. So I've been having to think about this, about the process I followed and the process that other people can follow as well, is to learn about the actual problems and the actual audience. Okay, so first job I would say will be to observe. So just observe, hang out in the groups that you're interested in, help people in those groups. Do what is called, I've not invented this phrase, but it's called copy stalking, which is basically where people are saying, I'm so frustrated with this particular thing, or I can't figure out how to do this. Grab those phrases and save them. The actual phrases. Don't paraphrase them in your own words. Actually grab the actual phrases that they use. I spent probably 2 or 3 months doing that, feeling incredibly guilty that I was spending way too much time researching, but it was absolute gold, actually, just to spend time just observing. The next stage, I would say, would be to start actually asking. So ask people, what do you struggle with? Like, run surveys, just not asking for anything in return. Ask people to get on calls. When I first started, I actually I did a Twitter search for people who were web designers, and I just asked them. I mean, most of them ignored me completely, but I probably got 20 or 30 responses from people saying, yeah, I'll fill in your survey. No, no problem. I asked in Reddit groups. I contacted the moderators first and said, do you mind if I just ask a few questions? And they're like, yeah, as long as there's nothing hidden, it's not like you're not asking for anything in return. So yeah, lots of asking people, like, basically, what do you struggle with in your business? How could I best help? It's funny, actually, the response I got the most of was clients and getting paid and getting content. But I thought, well, I don't feel particularly experienced enough, qualified enough to be teaching people that kind of thing. So that was one of the biggest problems. The next thing after that would be then to start providing value. So you've got an idea who the audience is. You've got an idea what they want. You've got an idea what they're struggling with. Is to then start providing value. So start actually helping in those groups. Start answering those questions. Start keeping a record of your stock answer, I suppose, to the questions as they come up, and start to create content as well. You've got to start putting yourself out there at some point. Start answering these questions on video, even if it's like, I mean, Lee's done a lot of this, answering these questions that people ask constantly, just a little short 2-minute, 5-minute video, to start to develop your position as an expert, as somebody who is out there providing value and knows what they're talking about. If you're worried about not feeling like an expert, don't be. Because to be honest, you only really need to be 1 or 2 steps ahead of the people that you're helping anyway. You've got more empathy with your audience if you're not too far ahead of the struggles that they're currently experiencing. And I suppose the final thing then would be to say, so observing, asking, delivering value. And I suppose the final phase of that will be what I would call capture, which is always be looking for ways of getting people's email addresses. Always be looking at ways of getting people on the email list. So when I first started, every YouTube video, every blog post, every webinar, every single thing I produced had an email capture element. So it might be I just taught people how to build a particular landing page. Oh, and by the way, if you want the template for this already built for you, pop in your email address and I'll send it to you. Or do you want a cheat sheet? Single page, you can save it on your computer, single page cheat sheet with all the steps that I've taught you in this video. If you want that, pop in your email. So with giving away even more helpful stuff to help solve people's problems, building the email list is absolutely vital. Partly because you've then got a relationship to get to know your audience even more, to find out even more what they struggle with. I've got an automated email that goes out immediately. Anybody gets on my email list, basically saying, tell me what you struggle with. Tell me how I can help you. But also you've got a ready-made audience for when you want to sell something as well. Maybe 1% of your list might eventually want to buy something, which is fine. But I think building the email list from the very, very beginning is absolutely vital.
That's awesome. Folks, I'm afraid we're coming into land. We can always bring you one for a part 2. Now, I'm going to do the Lee Jackson patented recap where I condense everything that you said into just a few words and everyone gets blown away. But before we do that, I've just set myself up to fail there.
I'm interested in this.
Before we do that,
it's infallible, Lee. It's infallible.
Before we do that, first of all, check out No Fear Funnels, of course. I'll let you know on an upcoming podcast of the Agency Trailblazer podcast how I get on with that. And hopefully you'll be buying through my new funnels. But can people get any access as well to your upcoming course with regards to teaching? So do you have any landing page that we can send people to?
No, I wish I did. I absolutely wish I did, but I don't at the moment. I'm actually don't even know.
5.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Mistake number 5.
That?
Yeah. Mistake number 5. Provide
Mistake
no means
5.
of people to get in touch. I am. If what I will say is at the moment, because I don't even know if I'm going to make a course. I mean, the first stuff
Please.
I'm just planning loads of free content at the moment. I might do some group workshops. Might do some group paid workshop type things.
Idea.
My website for this new thing is going to be at mrdavefoy.com. Right? If you go there at the moment, there's nothing there.
Mr. MR.
MR, yeah. So, but if you want to email Dave at Mr. Dave Foy, mrdavefoy.com, Dave at mrdavefoy.com. And if you let me know if you're interested, and I will spam you to. No, sorry, I will keep you informed as to what I'm doing. I'm going to be, yeah.
MrDaveFoy.com and also No Fear Funnels as well. So let's do the paid to do recap, folks. We have learned a lot from Dave. Please be sure to watch I would recommend you watch this as a replay and make some notes. But first of all, we started off with why it is important right now to be teaching online. And Dave gave us quite a lot of awesome points. We then looked at the massive benefits of teaching online, which simply included things like another revenue stream, but also attracting new clients and teaching your new clients. We then talked about some of those common objections, and Dave shared a few that he had himself with regards to confidence and not knowing enough and not really being a teacher, but then realizing that actually, oh heck, I am really a teacher and I naturally teach anyway. In fact, Dave is a qualified teacher, which then led to other people's objections. Well, I'm not. a qualified teacher, and Dave pointed out the fact that we are all teaching in our own different way. If we are a consultant, if we're providing a service, if we're providing support, then we are all teachers in different ways. What we then did was kind of went through a really cool let me turn my alarm off. My alarm's going off to remind me of something. I have no idea what it was, though. We then went through the basic flow.
To turn it off.
We went through a basic flow, and let's just share that as well, because I actually got some good notes, and it was here. It'd be really clear on what it is that they're going to be able to do after a lesson. This is the lesson flow that you can apply. Number one. And the reason why. Then we said explain to them what the problem. Explain to them what the problem is. What the problem will be if they don't learn it. Then we said tell them what. Tell them what you're actually going to teach. Then once you've taught the lesson, highlight some of those common objections, and then finally get them to do some sort of activity and recap. Then what we did was we went into some of the mistakes that Dave has made, one of them being not having a landing page for any up and coming courses, only messing with your mate. But we also talked about not selling something soon enough. I've been doing the podcast for many years and I don't really sell much at all. Don't make your courses too long. Definitely done that one. Don't undervalue what you bring to the table. You only need to know a little bit more than the people you're teaching, and they can come on that journey with you. And stop worrying about perfection. Come on. Good is better than perfect. Great is better than perfect as well. But perfection is something that I don't think we can kind of ever get there. And then finally, we wrapped up with where to start. And I wrote down the first point specifically, which was observe and help others. So where to start? If you don't know where to start, you're probably already doing it, because most of us in this industry are naturally inclined to be like this. But observe and help others, and start to write down those stock responses, like Dave was sharing, and writing down the language that your target audience are communicating in. And as we wrap up, Dave, would I be right in saying as well that we don't do that necessarily in our peer group, but we do that with the people we're serving? So if I'm a web developer who serves accountants, I should not be spending hours helping people in my peer group of web designers. I actually should be rocking in the place where my target audience is.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, definitely. Cool. Wherever that target audience is, get in there. Yeah, without a doubt.
So if you don't know what the target audience is, then work on that. And Know Your Funnels helps you with that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
it
folks,
does. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So, folks, remember, nofillfunnels.co. That was the Lee Jackson patented recap. It was quite a long recap because, unfortunately, Dave said an awful lot of words.
That was awesome. Yeah.
He's at that age where he says a lot. So
just rambles.
But we've had
Wind
a really
him up
great
and let
time.
him go.
nofearfunnels.co is the best place to go for now. You can also find Dave on the socials as well. So go check him out. It's Mr. Dave Foy, isn't it, on the socials as well?
It is, yeah. Twitter, yeah. Mr. Dave Foy,
Mr. Dave Foy, where he shares his political leanings and cat pictures. So be sure to follow him there as well. And with that said, Peacher, how can we connect with you?
You can connect with me in the Design for Geeks Facebook group.
Excellent.
That's the best way.
Me on the Agency Trailblazer Facebook group. We're in each of the groups anyway. And then obviously Dave on the Mr. Dave Foy or on nofearfunnels.co. Shall we do the cheesy wave and end the broadcast?
Thank you very much for having me.
It was an absolute pleasure.
It was a blast as
usual.
You.
I have the power to end the broadcast, so I can now just make everyone wave for it. You actually look like you're wiping a window.
Yeah.
Wax on, wax off.
Wax off.
Next time, I'm going to get an actual wipe and wipe my screen. So at least it'd be useful. At least there'd be some use for it.
Oh, dear. That actually sounded like Anne off Little Britain. That just did.
We're still live, I think.
I know we're still live. I'm trying to eke this out. I want Dave for as long as possible. Right, I'm going to hit end broadcast. Bye, everyone.